Hello, everyone, and welcome to our regularly scheduled weekly Canadian immigration live session. My name is Reza, and I'm a licensed immigration practitioner based out of Toronto, Canada. Today, we will be covering the topic of potential questions an officer at the Canadian border may ask you upon arrival as an international student or as a visitor. Stay tuned for future videos on potential questions for foreign workers with work permits and confirmed permanent residents who are landing in Canada the first time. So let's first explain who the first person is that you meet at the port of entry in Canada. These are CBSA officers, Canadian Border Service Agency. They have the power to accept you into the country, refuse you, send you back, or even detain you in case something seriously goes wrong during your interaction with them. Remember this, even if you're approved to enter Canada as a visitor, student, foreign worker, spouse of a Canadian who has sponsored you, a confirmed permanent resident, or even a Canadian holding a permanent resident card, they have the power to refuse entry no matter what. Obviously, this is only in extreme cases, but it does happen more than you think. They hold the ultimate power and are the first and last line of defense at the port of entry on behalf of the Canadian government. Here are the 5 golden rules of interacting with CBSA officers at the Canadian borders. First one, if your English or French is not good, request a translator. You have that right. You cannot halfway through your interview or conversation with them backtrack and say, "Oh, I didn't understand because or I responded incorrectly because of my language ability." Number 2, only answer what they have asked you. Don't give them additional information or start telling stories. Either yes, no, or answer that specific point in their question. Nothing more, nothing less. Third point, the information you provide should match the documents you have and or the previous border immigration information on your file for US and Canada. So let's say if they ask you, when was the last time you entered Canada, you exited, or were refused, maybe at a US border, your response needs to match the factual records they have on their system that they see in their computers. Number 4, do not argue with them and be nice and relatively passive. Number 5, cooperate fully and don't hesitate when you're responding to their questions. As long as they're happy, they won't become suspicious of you and you'll be fine. Well, here's the list of potential questions and documents that a CBSA officer may ask an international student arriving to Canada to begin their studies. Some international students have been sent back before because they were not prepared to respond to these questions. So first question, which school will you be studying in Canada? Make sure you know the answer and it matches your letter of acceptance for the name of your school. Which program are you enrolled in at this school? Well, again, make sure the program you mentioned is 100% matching the program stated on the letter of acceptance. You don't want to give details or a long story of how you picked the program, just the program name. What is the duration of your program in Canada? Make sure it matches your letter of acceptance and make sure you know the answer to this question, whether it's 12 months, 8 months, 20 months, 3 years bachelor's degree, or a 1.5 year accelerated master's degree. Whatever it is, make sure you know it and it matches your letter of acceptance. Another question is, a follow-up question to the previous question is, if it's a 2-year program, how are you going to pay for your second year? So do not say I will work in Canada as a student since I'm allowed to do part-time work. This is the wrong answer. You have to answer that your parents, your family, or a financial sponsor in your home country has income or savings and they will send you the money on a regular basis. Or you may have, if you're a mature student, you may have the funds available. So they will require some documentation in certain cases, so it's best you have those. They may have follow-up questions on this as well. Next question, where are you staying? Another variation of this question is, what is your address in Canada? If you already booked a hotel, apartment, Airbnb, a dormitory, please make sure you provide the documents to them at this point and explain. If you're staying with a family, a relative, or friend, then have their address written down to show to the officer, explaining your relationship to them. Next question, who will be paying for your expenses here? Another variation of this question is, did you already pay for your tuition fees? Please provide proof of payment to them if already paid. If only a minimum deposit is being paid, please provide proof of funds for yourself, family, or whoever is sponsoring your studies. Documents are the most powerful tool when being questioned by a CBSA officer in order to clarify your responses. Another question, what are you going to do after you finish the program? Well, don't answer, I want to work and apply for my PR in Canada. This is the worst answer you can give. Your answer here could be a variation of any of these based on your actual scenario. Maybe I will return to my home country to help run my family's business. I may look at pursuing my graduate level studies later in a different country. I don't have an exact plan for my career, but I will return to my home country and decide with my family. Or I will maintain my status as an international student here and apply for a postgraduate work permit to gain Canadian work experience before I return to my home country, as this will help a lot with my career back home when I'm applying to larger companies. Also remember that if you're coming here to only study English or French, then your responses may be different. The purpose would be to improve your language skills. Do not mention work permit. Do not mention working at part-time as a student, since you won't be eligible for that, or a postgraduate work permit. You can either mention that you will return to your home country or plan to apply for a pathway program after you've improved your English or French. I would only recommend this last answer if you're from a country where the refusals are not high and or you are from a visa exempt country. If you're from Central or South America, there's no worries, but if you're from the Middle East, I would be careful with what you're answering there if you're just coming here to study for English or French. Here's some other random questions that sometimes you may come across if you enter Canada as an international student at the airport or port of entry. Why did you choose Canada to study? Well, there's various answers you can give. One, I had friends or relatives or family who studied here as an international student and they had a great experience. Or two, I have family relatives here and I feel safer studying outside my home country if I know somebody is here to support me. And then the third potential answer could be my family is supporting me to study abroad to gain international experience, and the cost of studying compared to the US, UK, or Australia is lower here in Canada. Another question, is anyone coming to pick you up at the airport? No, and explain you will take a taxi, Uber, train, or metro. If it's yes, then identify who the person is who's coming to pick you up and their relation to you. If you're a mature student in your late 30s or 40s, they may ask you what you do in your home country. For example, your profession. Did you take time off? Are you returning to your employer after your studies? Well, yes, you should answer yes. You have to reconfirm that you will return to your employer or another job back home and that you're studying to upgrade your career with the existing employer or a brand new employer after your graduation. Having proof of your occupation or profession with a letter of acceptance, with your IRCC study permit approval, some financial proof, it will be very helpful. Here are the list of documents they may request from you as an international student when you first arrive. 100% they will require your IRCC study permit approval letter. This is mandatory, not optional. Your letter of acceptance from the school in Canada. Highly recommend you have that with you. And potentially, if it's printed out, makes much easier than having it on your phone or laptop. Proof of deposit to the school for your tuition, if not already paid in full for applicants who are at Student Direct Stream. your IELTS, TOEFL, or French exam scores if your letter of acceptance states that it's a non-conditional offer and there is a requirement to have a minimum score to attend this program. Proof of financials or your GIC certificate if you applied under the Student Direct Stream. Your study plan or statement of purpose, just in case. Any hotel, apartment, Airbnb confirmations, or the address of the family or relatives where you will be staying at. Proof of your ties to your home country, especially with mature students. Sometimes, if they really become suspicious and you're going to start a postgraduate level program, it would be a good idea to keep your undergraduate diploma or degree with you along with transcripts. These would be only for extreme cases, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And remember, during this whole time, the CBSA officer at the Canadian border will be testing your knowledge of English or French without you even knowing it. So if you're not here to go through a pathway program or a language program, and you have a non-conditional letter of acceptance from your school here, and you cannot properly communicate in English or French, this will be a concern by the CBSA officer. This will lead to more questions and a potential refusal for entry to Canada. Another point to note that is if you do show an IELTS or TOEFL or TEF TCF for French at the border, and let's say IELTS 5 or 6, but you cannot communicate properly with them in English, they may suspect that that exam is fake or somebody else has taken it on your behalf, which will also lead to refusal at the border and potential misrepresentation and a ban of 5 years. Now, let's look at the list of potential questions and documents that a CBSA officer may ask you as a visitor arriving to Canada. You may be here to visit family, a business visit, or just tourism. First question, how long are you going to stay in Canada? This is where you would show them proof of your return ticket. No matter how long you plan to stay, make sure you have proof of a return ticket and perhaps a medical insurance. The reason why you're visiting Canada. Never say it's because of work or looking for work in Canada. It's typically visiting my family, relatives, friends, holiday, business visit, or even a conference. Make sure you have some supporting documents, such as an address of a family member, your hotel confirmation, the business name, address, and contact of the business that's invited you, and the invitation letter of the company you're meeting in Canada. How much money do you have to support your stay in Canada? You can mention you have a credit card, cash, debit card, or traveler's checks for the amount to cover your expenses, your hotel, travel, food, etc. Note that $10,000 in cash in Canadian dollar equivalent or higher requires special disclosures and forms to be filled at the port of entry, and the CBSA officer will ask you more detailed questions on the source of funds. Who are you visiting? This is where you explain if it's family, friends, a company, and their address and details. Make sure you have their address and details, and if it's just a holiday trip, then you're not visiting anyone, but you can have your hotel or Airbnb confirmation printed out with you. What is your address in Canada? This is where you need to show your hotel confirmation or address of your friends or family. Make sure you have it written down so you don't try to guess or say you forgot it. This would be a red flag for the officer as well. What did you do? What do you do in your home country? What is your profession? Answer them clearly and without additional information unless they ask for it. Maybe a business card if applicable. Do not have an employee reference letter or your resume with you. That's like a death wish. They will think that you're here to apply to jobs and then attend interviews, which is not allowed. Some of the most important documents to have with you as a visitor would be the flight return ticket, proof of funds, address confirmation of where you will be staying in Canada, and perhaps the invitation letter of the person who invited you to Canada, if it's applicable. Make sure you prepare with your documents and answers before you arrive to Canada. Do not guess or give incorrect information to the CBSA officers, since they will become suspicious and ask you even more questions. This could potentially lead to refusal and even misrepresentation of being banned for a certain number of years of applying to re-enter Canada. This will also affect your application or immigration to US, Europe, New Zealand, and Australia. We call those the Five Eyes, which share immigration data across these borders. Well, there you have it, folks. I hope this live session has helped you understand how to prepare before your arrival to Canada as an international student or visitor. If you attend our live sessions, you can even ask questions and we'll answer them live right here on our YouTube channel. We're here every Thursday, 9:30 a.m. North America Eastern Standard Time. Remember, everyone, our team in Canada speaks over 8 languages, and we're licensed to help applicants like yourself and families to apply for immigration purposes. We have $1 million liability insurance, which protects you and us from mistakes or fraud, as well as a dedicated client trust account in Canada, which is also covered by this insurance. We help applicants from over 47 different countries. If you require assistance with your school admission, study permits, refusal reapplications, federal court appeals, or work permits, you can reach out to us through the link below this YouTube video or on our website. 99% of our team here, including me, are first generation immigrants. We understand the challenges and frustrations involved in applying for immigration, and we're here to support you since we all went through the same process that you will be going through for the Canadian immigration. Apply on the link in the description of this video on your YouTube channel or the buy link on Instagram or Facebook to receive a free assessment of your profile for immigration purposes. Join us next week again during our regularly scheduled Thursday live sessions. And as a final note, please remember to immigrate with a plan. Don't just apply for the sake of applying without knowing or planning every step of the entire process. Bye for now and take care. See you next week.